The periodic table. Did you know that diamond and coal are similar in composition? Even though diamond is expensive and coal is cheap, although both are different in physical characteristics, they possess the same element. What is an element? Which element is found in both diamond and coal? You learn about it in this video. Also, at the end of this video, you should be able to define and identify the periodic table, explain its historical development, categorize the groups and periods, match elements to their respective symbols, and lastly, classify elements as metals and non-metals. The periodic table is the classification and arrangement of chemical elements into rows and columns. Elements are the chemical substances that cannot be broken down into other substances. There are 118 elements in the periodic table. The periodic table is displayed to the right of your screen, showing all the elements. However, for this video, we will be focusing on the first 20 elements of the periodic table. How do we know the correct arrangement of the periodic table? There are several scientists who contributed to the development of this periodic table. The first scientist is Johann Dobereiner, followed by John Newlands, then Dmitri Mendeleev, and lastly Henry Moseley. At this time, you are going to learn about the work of each scientist and how they have contributed to the development of the periodic table. Johann Dobereiner proposed the law of triads between 1817 and 1829. The law of triads indicated that certain groups of 3 elements called triads displayed similar chemical and physical properties. However, this attempt to the development of the periodic table was partially successful. Therefore, in 1865, John Newlands proposed the law of octaves. John Newlands arranged the elements and established that they have similar properties to the element 8 places ahead of them in the list. He placed elements into vertical columns called groups. However, the law of octaves was a partially successful attempt to the development of the periodic table. In 1869, Dmitri Mendeleev, a Russian chemist, published the periodic classification of elements, where he proposed the relationship between chemical properties and atomic mass of elements. He arranged elements in increasing relative atomic mass, as Mendeleev noticed a recurring pattern when the elements were placed in horizontal rows. Furthermore, with this arrangement, Dmitri Mendeleev found that chemically similar elements can be placed in vertical columns. The vertical columns are called groups. Additionally, Dmitri left gaps in the periodic table for undiscovered elements. His contribution to the historical development of the periodic table has been a success. In 1914, Henry Moseley further contributed to the development of the periodic table. He arranged elements by their atomic number. That's the end of the historical development of the periodic table which we use today. Today's periodic table is arranged into groups and periods. Groups are vertical columns that are numbered in Roman numerals at the top of the periodic table. The elements in each group have similar chemical properties. In total, there are 18 groups in the periodic table. However, there are 8 groups for the first 20 elements of the periodic table. Groups are numbered from left to right of the periodic table. The first column will be group 1, the second column group 2, the third column group 3, the fourth column group 4, the fifth column group 5, the sixth column group 6, the seventh column group 7, and the eighth column group 8. Please note, group 8 is also called group 0. In contrast to groups, periods are horizontal rows. They are numbered in Arabic numerals at the left of the periodic table. In total, there are 7 periods in the periodic table. However, there are 4 periods for the first 20 elements. The first row at the top of the periodic table is period 1, the second row period 2, the third row period 3, and the fourth row period 4. Here's an activity: true or false. Periods are vertical columns in the periodic table. The answer is false. If you got it correct, well done. At this time, you will be learning about the first 20 elements and their respective symbols. Those were the first 20 elements of the periodic table. Now you are going to learn the similarity between diamond and coal. Diamonds and coals are both comprised of the same element, carbon. Each element in the periodic table consists of 2 numerals, the atomic number and mass number. The mass number is always the larger number for each element. At this time, we are going to classify elements as metals and nonmetals. In order to classify elements as metals and nonmetals, you have to know where they are located on the periodic table, as well as properties of metals and nonmetals. Metals are located to the left of the periodic table except for hydrogen. Metals are solid apart from mercury. They are normally shiny and have a high melting point. Metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. They are malleable, which means they can be beaten into sheets. Metals are ductile, meaning they can be drawn into wires. In contrast, nonmetals are located to the right of the periodic table. They exist in all three states of matter. However, majority of the nonmetals are gases. Nonmetals are dull and have a low melting point. They are poor conductors of heat and electricity. Nonmetals are non-malleable, which means they cannot be beaten into sheets, and they are non-ductile, meaning they cannot be drawn into wires. Here is a depiction of the periodic table displaying the elements that are classified as metals highlighted in blue, for example, sodium and beryllium. On the other hand, the elements that are classified as nonmetals are located to the right of the periodic table highlighted in yellow, for example, oxygen and helium. Here's a question. Where are metals located on the periodic table? If your answer is metals are located to the left of the periodic table, you are correct. Well done. Alright, so observe this periodic table in order to formulate your responses. You may pause the video while you are establishing your answer. Fluorine is located in which period? The correct response is period 2. If an element is in the second column, what is the group number? The answer is group 2. What is the symbol for neon? Capital N, common E. Chlorine, located in group 7, would be considered a metal or non-metal. Chlorine is a non-metal. Here are some other items to test your knowledge. Number 1. What is the periodic table? Two. Which scientist contributed the most towards the development of the modern periodic table? 3. The rows of the periodic table are called, while the columns are known as? 4. Write the name of the elements for these symbols. Capital C, capital N common A, capital H, and capital K. 5. Classify the elements in number 4 as metals or nonmetals. Number 6. Which element is located in group 7, period 2 of the periodic table? Lastly, number 7. Write 3 characteristics of metals and 3 characteristics of nonmetals. Thanks for watching.